guys, it's Ariel
And Jason.
from Fix My Books, and today we're gonna do another video about, a day in the life of a remote bookkeeper. So someone who works from home. This could be different from someone who works in an office, just because you would have like differing responsibilities. But we see that a lot of you guys actually like this kind of content, so maybe we'll give you like a little peek into what we do on a daily basis.
It's not that exciting. We're trying to make it exciting.
Okay, so just some things to note. There will be difference between like an employee versus like a self-employed bookkeeper in terms of the tasks that you'll have to do.
Yeah, so self-employed is probably going to be a lot more broad than an employee. An employee can likely be a lot more specific as well. So you may be doing like AR or AP or payroll, like one specific task, whereas self-employed, it will be a range.
Yeah, and you'd have additional things related to like running a business. And then number two, so we'll go over some bookkeeping tasks, and then payroll tasks, some filings. And then again, if you're self-employed, you'll have like client meetings and other business related tasks. And there would be a lot of ad hoc tasks. If you're an employee or self-employed, just note it's not just, oh, I'm just doing the bookkeeping on my own. You'll realize that you actually have to talk to like a lot of people.
Yeah, there's a lot more to do than just what you see on the surface.
Okay, so this is just like a sample to-do list. So I wake up every morning, I have my coffee. Jason makes my coffee every morning. He's so nice. And then I open up our client portal. So this is obviously not it. This is just a sample, but I have like a Kanban board, and this is just, things that I have to do, not specifically today, but, maybe like throughout the week, this is what I need to accomplish. So you'll see like which ones are like done, which one is on hold, in progress, things that I have to do that's coming up. And you'll notice this a lot. There are things that will always be on hold because, you're waiting for clients to respond, or like client statements, blah, blah, blah.
Your life is deadlines, so
Yeah.
it's important to be organized and to have something similar to this. There's many softwares out there that offer, organizational things like ClickUp, Monday.
Even if it's like a paper to-do list,
Yeah.
I really like a paper to-do list as well.
Yeah, that's my thing. I started her on paper to-do lists.
Yeah. So, just wake up in the morning. This is what you see, things you need to do for the day, for the week. And then after that, I'll check my calendar. Because again, that wasn't arranged by, a schedule. Those are just things that are like happening, in terms of bookkeeping. And then I check the actual schedule, like my calendar, and I'm like, okay, so I need to do this by this date, by this time, blah blah blah. And
it's actually, her calendar is not this empty. This is just an example, and she couldn't be bothered to fill in every single box, but
yeah,
it's usually completely full.
Yeah.
If you're a business owner, self-employed, you'll know this very well. Your calendar will be full all the time.
Yeah.
Even if it's not like actual tasks for individual companies or people.
Yeah. And, you'll see that like payroll is actually very important in terms of the date and the time, because there are different payroll software where, oh, you can only run payroll up to, let's say, 12 noon, and then after that, it will be processed the day after. So you really need to be aware of those cutoff times, which payroll software you're using and stuff like that. So like, that's why it's arranged in a certain way.
Yeah, you don't want to do anything late with payroll. You'll get a lot of people.
Oh yeah, where's my money? Like that's a number one thing I always tell everyone. Like, you can mess up with like bookkeeping and not many people will notice, but the moment you mess up with payroll, you miss someone's commission, you miss someone's bonus. They're like, where's my money?
Everything falls apart then.
Yeah. So having both like a Kanban board, like a to-do list, and an actual schedule helps a lot. And this is what, I typically do in my day. I check that, and then I check this. And then it will just depend on, which client I'm working on that particular day. So let's say there are certain clients we receive invoice payments for or create invoices for. And then let's say for client A, we do this every Monday. We create all their invoices and send them out. So that will be part of my task for the day. And then for client B, let's say we do bill publishing every Tuesday. So that will be the task for the day. It just depends on like what needs to be done, depends on if you're self-employed, what the engagement is with the client. If you were employed, you would just have like a schedule from your employer saying do this every Tuesday, do this every Monday.
Yeah, but the more clients you have, the more moving parts there are, the more things that need to be done and kept in a very rigorous schedule that you can't miss.
Yeah. And so, after, let's say, those weekly tasks and stuff like that, maybe you're closing the books for a client for, month-end close. So you're reconciling their bank accounts. And once the bank accounts are reconciled, you'll send them a profit and loss report from QuickBooks. And then another thing is that number 5, we do this a lot, getting clarification from clients about unknown expenses. You'll notice as you're doing someone's books, you're like, oh, what is this? What did they buy? It's easy if it's something like, a G Suite subscription, it's a software subscription, that's fine. But, they buy things from different places and you're like, I don't know what that's for.
Yeah.
Yeah, so you have to like ask clients about this. So you'll be doing this almost every day, I would say. Okay.
So payroll tasks, getting hours of hourly employees. This can sometimes be easy, but other times it can be very difficult, especially if you've got a manual system and you don't use like a proper payroll software. This can be a real headache. So we usually advise clients to set themselves up in a payroll software because especially if they've got like 3, 4, 5 employees, after that time, they really cannot be bothered to go ask the employee all the time for their hours, or they'll lose track of them and then it can create all sorts of issues. Number 2, running payroll. Again, just make sure that you're on time with this. Don't miss it. The best way to get number 1 is to tell the employees, if you don't give us this by this date, you're not getting paid.
Yeah.
They'll usually respond to that, and so will the business owners.
Yeah, and this could be like different ways. Sometimes the employees, like, we have like a shared email and they'll like send their timesheets in there, or sometimes it's the business owner who says like 9 hours for this employee, 10 hours for, so it just depends. So you have to have a system. Different companies have different systems, but the most important thing is you have to have a system.
Yeah, so who creates that system? Sometimes we create it, sometimes people use software, etc. It's really up to who you're dealing with.
Yeah. Next, we only do this once a month, but you have to schedule payroll tax remittances, make sure they're remitted on time, and then for larger clients that we deal with, their employees will submit like vacation like requests, and then once it's approved, we'll enter it into like our leave tracker or whatever. So that's something that we do on an as needed basis. Sometimes we just do this, let's say the day before we have to run the payroll to check that all the approved leaves are included in that payroll for their vacation time. I know some people who do this once a week, depending how big the payroll
really
is.
Depends on how many employees there are in the company.
Yeah, but these are just some of the things that you could do throughout the day if you're dealing with payroll. We're just giving you like a general idea of what a day could look like.
Yeah. So this one, the HST filings, WSIB filings, ROE filings, and T4 filings, obviously this doesn't happen every day. But the more clients you have, the more it feels like it can be every day. So, you've got your HST filings and you'll be prepping with those. So you'll be making sure that you've got a whole bunch of information from the client with respect to things that they're going to claim for their HST filings, then, obviously filing it in QuickBooks or recording it in QuickBooks and filing it in the CRA portal, WSIB filings.
Usually quarterly.
Yeah, usually quarterly. ROE filings, well, that's whenever there's an employee that's let go. This is not so frequent, but you will encounter it.
It's just part of your day.
It's just part of it.
Yeah.
And then you've got your T4 filings at the end of the year, and that's always fun when that system goes down.
Yeah. The closer you get to the deadline, the more likely the system is down because of how many people there are filing.
Yeah, and we'll add in there as well T4A filings. That's another one that can cause a massive headache. Especially when you don't have details of people and they've given you wrong information, blah, 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 blah. If you're a bookkeeper and you're watching this, you know. You know the pain.
Okay, so other business-related tasks. So this is what I mentioned a while ago. Like, if you're an employee, then you wouldn't have to do things like this. But if you're a self-employed bookkeeper, this just comes with the territory of running a business. So you're going to update your, website, YouTube, social media, whatever.
And so as an example, just a general example, it's Saturday, 11 a.m., and we're doing this while our dog sleeps, and we have been working since very early this morning, 5 o'clock, whatever. But that's just what it is. That's Saturday for us. And then Sunday, we'll try to do like a half day, something like that. But there's still stuff that always needs to get done. So.
And most business owners do that. My clients respond on weekends. Yes. Like, you're always on call.
If you want to talk about whether you because you see the financials of businesses, the most successful business owners
respond on weekends.
Respond on weekends, or they're responding late, or they're just getting the responses out of the way. Right? Yeah. They're doing what they need to do when they need to do it. So you really see a correlation with that.
Yeah. And all those work 12 hours a week.
Set your own hours. Like those people trying to sell you like a 4-hour work week because you work from home and you have your own business. Good luck with that. You probably can't make ends meet.
So something else that you would need to do if you are a self-employed bookkeeper would be, client meetings. Maybe, let's say in a day you would have 1 or 2 client meetings in between you doing bookkeeping, supervising your staff, things like that. So the day really depends obviously on what type of bookkeeper you are, what you have scheduled for the day, but client meetings are pretty regular. That's not something that's it's once a month. I would say we have client meetings at least once or twice a week at least.
And also with that, they'll just come out of nowhere. So they'll say, something's blown up, we need your help with this. Or they'll just contact you, hey, just want to chat, and it will always come at a time when you're the busiest. You're busy, you're doing something else, especially during tax season, because everyone wants a piece of you.
So with that, if you land new clients, you have to, send out engagement letters, do a quote, stuff like that. And other things that maybe people don't think about, but throughout the day, especially during the summer and during this time where it's a bit more quiet, we do get a lot of our continuing education credits done.
Yeah, so we do a lot of this through this period. It's very difficult to do it during tax season, but if I'm reading tax court cases, or I'm doing something related to tax or bookkeeping or business at 8 p.m. at night, before I go to sleep, I'm reading this or I'm watching something.
So also, if you're a QBO Pro advisor, you have to recertify each year. So, that's part of it. If you're, like us, I'm a CPB, so a certified professional bookkeeper, and a certified bookkeeper also in the US with the American Institute of Professional Bookkeepers. So I have to do 20 credit units for the Canadian side, and I think 30 for the US side.
And then with myself, I have to do it's a lot. what is it per year? It's like minimum 16 hours a year for an enrolled agent plus 2 hours of ethics. But overall, over the course of 3 years, you got to do like 72 hours. I can't remember the exact figure off the top of my head because I know that I always do more than that anyway. So it's
but just so you know, like that's something that
you have to stay on top of.
Yeah, you have to stay on top of, and it could just be part, like, as I said, like, we do it when it's a bit more quiet, like now, we'll attend, like, 1 or 2 sessions a week or something, and it's good to just keep up with, new software.
Especially if, like, you're dealing with,
tax,
U.S.
new
taxes
legislation,
or anything like that, even Canadian taxes, because they're influenced very heavily by U.S. taxes, and every time there's an election cycle in the U.S., like, either state or, the presidential elections, then you've got changes to the tax code coming.
Yeah. And then again, if you're self-employed and you have staff, then, you're reviewing your employees' work, you're sending payments to subcontractors, running payroll for your own staff, things like that. So that would be part of it. And number 5 is something we're doing a lot right now, is we're meeting with our vendors and like other service providers because we are building something for our company.
And
so,
for our clients.
For our clients. So like that's taking up a lot of our time. So it just depends on what you're doing, but this is all part of it.
Yeah. On any given day, it would be one of these things at least.
Yeah. Ad-hoc tasks are my favorite.
This is the billable stuff. So if someone is asking you to do something which is outside of the scope of your engagement letter, you'll probably be, billing hourly for this extra. Or, if it's not much effort, you're probably not billing them.
Yeah. So gathering documents from clients, like bank statements, stuff like that, that's just, it's not work, like technically it's not bookkeeping work, but it's just something that you have to do all the time. So again, have a system for that. Reminding clients of due dates.
This is so important.
This is so important. Like you think, oh, but I told them already. No, you have to remind them.
Like you remind them 3 months in advance, 2 months in advance, 1 month in advance, 2 weeks in advance, and 1 day in advance.
And this is not like, oh, you have to file your taxes by April 30. That's not the due date that we're talking about. Everyone knows that, but
HST filings,
HST
payment
filings,
dates, installment payment
dates, things like that. When we need the T4s filed.
That's a big one, actually. Yeah, T4As as well.
Yeah, and we do this for our clients, like just reminding them, like, hey, like, if you want to contribute to your RSP, you can do so up to, this date, and it will count for the previous year, blah, blah,
just
blah.
anything with a date attached to it, which is anything and everything from the CRA.
Yeah. And also, you'd find this funny, but like sometimes you have to be tech support for your clients. Like if they're having issues with their QBO account, let's say they do their own invoicing, which a lot of clients do that. And there's something wrong with the invoice. They go, hey, can you help me? Even though this is not really part of your job. You have to just like step in and help them
because they don't know that they can just call QuickBooks, and you don't want to be rude and say, well, we'll just call QuickBooks. You want to help sometimes.
And then liaising with third parties, so accountants, employees. So sometimes their employee will, message you like, hey, how much like vacation time do I still have left? I'm trying to schedule my vacation, or like
I need to submit a request for reimbursements. Yeah, that's another big one.
And then again, if you are not filing their tax returns, they'll have their own accountant. You have to speak to their accountant, or maybe they hired like a CFO, which is what happened with one of our clients recently. They hired a new CFO. They wanted to change a lot of things, so you have to speak with them and like help them get to where they need to go in terms of their goals. And
this is probably the most common, is speaking to them on their behalf to the CRA. A lot of people are super scared. Whenever if the CRA calls you, don't ignore it. But yeah, they get scared of this and they want you to talk to them, or they need to find something out, or they got locked out of their account.
Yeah. I've seen this a lot with clients recently. They don't trust that it's the CRA calling them.
Yeah, so they want us to call the CRA and
double check if it's actually real, because like they're requesting for payment and they're like, oh, but I thought I paid this or whatever. Just because I don't know, I think there are a lot of scammy calls. So most of the time the client will just say like, okay, let me talk to my bookkeeper, my accountant first, and I'll get back to you. And then they want us to double check if it's really the CRA.
Yeah, and then Service Canada occasionally for some filings. But
if you filed like an ROE or something and they have questions about it, they'll usually call you. But that's all part of the day.
Oh, and with Service Canada, make sure that, you know, the whatever company you used to deal with, but you're no longer helping, make sure they remove you from the account.
Sometimes
because then the CRA is going to contact you and Service Canada is going to keep contacting you. So make sure you either remove yourself as a representative or make sure that they remove you from their account.
Yeah. So as you can see, it's really varied what you can do depending on how you structure yourself, your life, in terms of bookkeeping. If you're an employee or you're self-employed, if you're self-employed, are you just like a one-man band, or do you have like staff? So all of these like will have like different things that they would need to do. But just know that everything we mentioned here, that's all part of like being a bookkeeper. And so if there are things in here that don't resonate with you and you're like, oh, I'm a bookkeeper, but I don't do that, that's fine. This is just what we find like we need to deal with on a regular basis.
Yeah, this is just very general information. It's nothing super specific. And, you know, your life may be different from our lives.
Yeah. And, you know, part of like being contacted by the CRA could be because your client's being audited, you know, so like that's just part of it. And honestly, clients freak out a lot when, you know, they're requesting, which is understandable, and like you're their first call. So just be aware that that does happen, and that's just part of it.
Yeah.
Okay, so we hope that this video gave you guys a better idea of the, you know, what you would do in a day. Again, it's a combination of all these things, but you will encounter all of these as like part of your bookkeeping life.
Yeah, if there's any others that you can think of, let us know. You know, perhaps we can make a video on that, or it's something that we've missed.
Yeah, or if you want Jason to make a video on the day in the life of a tax preparer, because that looks very different from this.
Especially during tax season.
Yeah. Okay, so that's it. We hope you guys like this video. Once again, this is Ariel
and Jason
from Fix My Books. Bye!